paving and a box culvert. Well, part of that 10 million was they probably knew in their minds, well, that box culvert's probably not big enough either, that'll have to get done, like, I bet he just went through his mind and was just like.
See, we were standing out there, that we called this, what's his name, Mark Van Horst out there.
Yeah.
He came, were you with that day? No, you weren't, but then he came over there, he's seen that slough area.
Yeah.
And this water that comes from the north of their feedlots, it's flushing the water, Jim, you know that, where it flushes and it brings this silt from these feedlots, this manure in there, and then there's grass going through. When it goes through, there's mountains of this rooted material like cattail, but ain't cattail. And all this material goes through, and then this grass is like a screen, a filter. And all that residue just keeps building back, and it creates a berm, and that water can't flush out. And then we talked to Mark, whose land it was, and he talked about whose it was, if a guy could go in there and dredge it open, like with an excavator, to get that water out of there through and get it off the pressure of that road system. And it would dry out so much better. So I don't know if there's money for that to clean out natural sheds kind of with waterborne.
I'm sure there's avenues you have to explore, you know, that's the thing. I just know, you know, even like what they're asking about getting like a nailed down engineering plan. It's very difficult to get funding for an engineering plan unless you're gonna commit to a project. If you're not gonna commit to a project and you just wanna engineer it, then that's usually, like, it's very hard to find funding for that, because they're not just gonna pay you to, I mean, people would engineer projects all over, you know, you kinda have to have a plan to get the money to do the engineering to do the project, unless you wanna foot the bill yourself. And so
Could a guy, this is probably way out there, you remember, no, you weren't with me, we went up to Morton County.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we went over, they've got an engineering firm on board, and they do, what do you call it, what the hell, where they do the bore on the soils and whatever. Is there any way a guy could work with Morton County and their engineering department with the maps and the geology and figure out through them roughly what it would cost? And not such an extravagant engineering amount to design this or get a number on it? Could a guy? You should talk to that, or you guys should talk to that with Russ, maybe.
I mean, I don't,
you know Schneider.
I don't see how Morton County could come down to Emmons and like do anything like, I mean, that'd be like us going over to Logan and helping.
I don't know,
roads.
I don't know what's out there, you know.
Right, I think they would probably give us about the same thing that Wolf did. They'd probably have a guy with some experience that would maybe look at a map and kind of go, yeah, well, last time we did a project like that, it cost this, and then they have no idea what's gonna cost to procure easement. You know, the other thing you got is like wetland mitigation. Like anytime you take on a road project, there's always the hidden costs, and that's why I know people don't like to hear that. They always feel like it's a cop out.
But you're pushing them away.
But it is the truth, because you're gonna find out that someone's got a dang wetland easement 3/4 of a mile in, and you're gonna have to give Ducks Unlimited 60,000 an acre to mitigate it, and now you're like, well, there goes our budget now, cause you just blew 150 grand on wetland mitigation. And then, like you said, then you got a box culvert you need to do, and then you eventually just go, what do you do here, you know?
It's over with, guys.
Right, and so it's hard, because it's a big project. If it was easy to pave it, it would've got paved by now. I'm sorry, that's the truth. Like, that road has been important for a long time. They would've figured out a way to do it then, and it was already too expensive or too hard then. It's gonna be very difficult now, like, not impossible, it's gonna be extremely difficult, and we got this book here, we're just going through, you guys. And this is the easy part, doing the preliminary. It's when we get later in the year and we find out that we gotta cut out 200,000, well, there's no room for engineering fees or possible road projects like that, like, I don't know where you're gonna get it from. Like,
well, I think we still charge forward with our 2 miles of cement stabilization.
Yeah.
We have a grant. I mean, it's a start in the right direction for those guys. It might not be the 100% answer for them, but I think they understand that we're limited to funds. I mean, that's the nature of the beast right now, but with that grant coming through, I think we move that direction.
I think they left with a good feeling.
Yeah, I think
Let's
they
just
did
work
too.
together.
Right, and I don't wanna try and just tell them like what they're thinking is crazy. I've been at this table long enough to know that there's stumbling blocks that eventually make you realize why something hasn't gotten done 20 years ago. Like, we're gonna keep digging through, and then you're gonna get to that same point that the commissioners 20 years ago were like, oh, well, that's not gonna work. And then you're like, well, maybe next year, you know, and that's what you kinda do, and that's the problem with
Yeah.
these big projects, that these huge, these box culverts, these 3 miles of road. We can spot gravel and dig 24-inch culverts out all day, we got the guys to do it, we got the money to do it. Once you start getting into these major contracted projects, they're extremely difficult, and then you have to wait for funding. The other thing too is taking the SRF funding and improving that road also kind of puts it in another category where you start to become eligible for other funding, cause they look at it as a criteria, like, hey, they've done the SRF and they already built it up to spec this way, so now it qualifies you that you probably have a better chance of paving it because you're doing this. Like, if you always never do it, then they're like, well, you guys didn't even do the minor steps, now we're gonna give you $5 million to pave it.
Well, if we do this 2 miles, I mean, is there a possibility to do the rest of that road in cement stabilization, the grants available for that? I mean, we're just
Yeah.
doing 2 miles.
Yeah.
But then when you turn south again, maybe next year or the year after, we can look
Maybe.
at doing that.
See
You
how
have
this
to
works.
have a project kinda.
Well, but again, like I said, when they look at it and they go, wow, they did 2 miles, and then they wanna do
Yeah.
another 2, like, I think it kinda puts you on the short list to keep getting funding versus maybe another project that
Right.
might be a little out there, or maybe a little too risky. This project is slowly gonna start building legitimacy to the point where you might get major funding to pave it. So, to act like, well, this isn't gonna work, and we don't want that, it's like, well, I think you just gotta take the baby steps incrementally to hopefully get to a point where there's nothing better to do, or you secure funding to do a major improvement, and I think that's why I think continuing forward with this, and I think it's the right thing to do and see how it works, and,
Yeah.
and in a year, 2 or 3, assess it, by then there's funding changes,
Yeah.
maybe it gets real bad and you
I don't
can't
think
do
you need
anything,
nothing.
maybe it
I
gets
don't think
better.
anybody would be upset if we go through with this, they're not gonna be upset with this 2 miles.
No, I don't think they don't wanna do it.
Dust, I think it should get rid of the dust.
Well, they're still gonna have to lay gravel on top, so
You
you're
still lay
still
gravel.
gonna, you'll still have
Still
your
be
dusting
dust.
issues.
Seeing that culvert, I think's got the structure to carry it, but I think you get more weight, it's just gonna push it into that swamp.
Right,
That's what's going on, right?
so I think there's
Because
gonna.
it's a
Or
swamp.
maybe for that dust, we need to, maybe we need to visit with CV Farms on dust control, and maybe that they
Well,
would
and
help
I
out
don't
with.
think any one of them would be unreasonable to wanna assist in things like that, I think it's just, I mean,
I mean,
once
it's
you.
that big of a danger.
It's a, did you see it last fall?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a disaster
Yeah.
down
I believe it.
there. Oh, that valley,
Yeah,
that flat just held, there was no wind that could push it out.
yeah, just hangs it.
And there was traffic. But anyhow,
Always traffic.
Dan Mock is gone. Continuation of 26 budgets in discussion. You got any more to do?
You wanna do the airport?
Treasurer,
Let's do the airport.
Yeah, the
We're gonna do the airport authority, come on up there. Lytton Airport Authority budget.
230.
It's in your
Sharon and Roger
packet,
Martin.
it's
Alright.
in that,
Do
with
what?
all the other budgets,
I've seen that in
it's
here.
in with all the other budgets,
Yep.
what they presented.
Motor vehicle treasurer. Hi, guys.
What's the end?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hi.
Everyone else. If you didn't point in and hear me, just let me know.
Just speak up in that mic, yep. You're soft-spoken, I'm hard of hearing, that's soft-spoken.
Okay.
Yep, thanks.
It looks like this here, it's in your binder, I mean,
It's
It's
in
for
our
their
binder.
Here's it.
Yeah, I passed by it.
it's just further back.
Where's that?
It's in
in
your
your
binder,
book.
I mean, you just go further back,
Way in the back.
not way in the back.
I see it right here.
Right
See it right
here.
Here it is.
Does it say
Emmons County?
Lytton Municipal Airport?
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
No. Maybe it is third, fourth page. Ambulance fund,
You'll find it. There, I think you're getting on it.
weed control.
It's about this much of the back of the book left. You can get to it.
Not too much.
No, I think it's going. I think it's before that. Yeah, it's right in front of that.
Senior citizens, Lewis and Clark. You guys find it? Lake Municipal Airport, here it is. Section A, B, correct?
There's 2 pages. The first one says Schedule B. This was the form that Ron asked me to fill out.
Section, proposed, you got Lake Municipal Airport 2026 proposed
Yeah,
budget.
they're right next to each other.
Right? And then you got Schedule B, yep. Okay.
Yes. And so the numbers all tie into each other. The first form that says Emmons County, and then I have the Lincoln Municipal Airport under that.
Yep.
And that would be the form that Marlis asked me to fill out. And then I just attached this accompanying document for verification in case you had any questions on anything. After our last meeting, there was some discussion to just do 4 mills. And it was suggested that I just figure this budget out using the 4 mills. And so that's what I did, okay? And you can see that I show the final appropriation being 200,000, and then we'd end up with a cash reserve at the end of 2026 of 37,000. And so our total appropriation cash reserve was the 237. We'd be going into the new year of 2026 with $215. You know, we did request the 45,000 for this year, and Marla suggested that we just put it into next year's mill levy, so that's what we did. So it ends up being 160,000 levied on Emmons County, but if you look at the accompanying document, that's gonna be more detailed and offer more explanation. So we start out with our cash on hand. We look at our income for 26, and you'll see I show the city of Linton. We have the 4 mills on the city of Linton, we'll bring in about that 11,600. The 4 mills on the remainder of the county would bring in about 160. I think you're talking with Marlis, the mill levy is worth right around that 43,000. So the 2 of them total that 4 mills on the county. We also received some state aid share that the city of Linton, they give us some of their state aid, so that's the 3,500. The grant from the Aeronautics Commission for this, the 25,000, is going to be 50% cost of our fuel system upgrade that we'll get into. And then our remainder income, rent, fees, things like that, is the 37. So that's where we have that 237,000 would be the total income with the mill levy. When we get into expenses, it's just based on kind of historical, the electricity, the water, telephone, internet, security. Aviation fuel is to actually, the fuel that we sell is what that's for. Equipment, repairs, maintenance, insurance, real estate taxes, miscellaneous. We did budget in to pay a manager and a clerk, although it's been somewhat volunteer over the past few years, we do want to budget in trying to pay for it. And then our fuel system upgrade, when we were here last month, we did give you the CIP, our capital improvements plan. And for next year, we did have it in there to do a fuel system upgrade. To let you know that the current avgas fuel system, that was installed in 2007, and the jet fuel system was installed in 2010. So they're due for upgrades. They've been causing some problems over the past 4 or 5 years. And it's time to upgrade them. So that's the $50,000, and then the state will pay 25 of that. And then our capital improvements, again, it's based on this plan that you saw last month. Scheduled for capital improvements next year would be a complete pavement rehabilitation. There would be a chip seal over all of the pavement and crack sealing and things like that. That project would cost about $750,000. FAA would pay $590,000, and we're requesting from the state $103. So you'll see that's where the local share of the capital improvements would be at $56,000. I spoke fast. I don't know if you have any questions or.
You did speak fast.
What's that?
You did speak fast.
Well, I hate to bore people with numbers. Sometimes I can get so into it that it might be boring for you. So, I just wanted to put it in a recap form. And just to let you know that we have not had a chance to meet with the city. Our city council meets tomorrow. Typically they meet before the commissioners. This is one of the 2 months out of the year you meet before the city council. So we haven't had a chance to have this approved by the city council. But I know we have someone sitting on this board. We have 2 council members of the airport authority. And I spoke with the mayor, so I think they're all on board. Also with the airport authority approved having the county appoint someone to the board to fill that vacancy. And I don't know if you've talked anything about that as well. So that would be the other thing that would be for discussion. But at this point, I guess we'll just open it up to you for questions, if that's okay.
Would Lytton City still levy for,
You know, from my understanding, yes. You know, I was looking at, for example, I spoke with Michigan and what they do and how they working out with McIntosh County. And I believe that the clerk from, say, the Michigan airport probably submits something similar, and she shows the city of Michigan, she shows Emmons County. So I think the levy would still be submitted for the city, and then the county, you can't levy more. You know, you wouldn't levy it on the city than the county share, because it's already levied.
so then 1 mil would be less than that 43,000 and
You
you
know,
wouldn't use the Lytton City tax evaluation then, is what I'm saying, right?
yeah. We can check too how they do it.
Yeah, I'm just, first time I'd be doing something like this, need to check things out.
Yeah. Cause I was calling and asking too, just how they do it, but they do levy it separately, the city also levies for it, and then the county. I think the county levies 4 mills, but they don't on the cities because they do it themselves. And then they split it between their two airports.
Between what?
They have 2 paved airports, so they split it between them in that county. That's what they were doing a year or so ago when I checked. Do you have any questions on the actual income and expenses at all?
So the 4 mills, is that statutory, or is that just what the airport
That's-
needs to function?
That's the minimum that you can, or that's a maximum.
That's the
that you
max, so
Max,
you
max is
actually-
4 mil.
4 mills is, that's the reason for the 4 mills.
That's the maximum that you can do. And then you know, our thought process in moving forward is that each year we come in with a budget and we know what it looks like, and if it takes 2 mills, it's 2 mills, if it takes 3, it's whatever we request with the maximum never exceeding 4, because it can't be beyond that.
So you can adjust, if you don't need 4, you can back it up.
Exactly. If you don't need 4 mills, you back it off.
Yeah.
And
But they
then,
usually don't.
They don't usually.
Appreciate your optimism, Commissioner Vanderhorst, but no offense to the airport,
I
most
think
people
they'll
don't ask
do
for
it.
less, they just, that's
think they'll
government,
do it
that's
after,
not, that's not a shot at the airport, that's,
Just,
it starts out as 2 mills, and well, someday it might be a minute, it's always 2 mills, it's always 4, and I'm not saying it doesn't need it, I had to chuckle
odds are
at you,
pretty
cause that,
slim.
well, it just, you know how it is, if you're getting those
Yeah,
4
I-
mills, then you can, then you wanna do other things, and so you,
Yeah.
well, this year we'll keep the 4 mills, and that, but then especially with infrastructure, you're always trying to do improvements, you're always
Yeah.
trying, if you fix the runway, then next thing you'd like to do a building, you know, and so it's
Yeah.
hard to not take those 4 mills.
yeah,
So that's, again, not trying to be offensive, just generally with government, the only thing temporary about temporary funding is the word temporary. So, it just becomes part of your budget, it's just the way
yeah,
it is, so.
I agree.
And I think if you're gonna do 4 mills, I think you pretty much have to expect you're gonna
You're gonna
do.
do 4.
I think if you really dig in the airport, just like anything else, you're gonna find that 4 mills probably won't even truly probably go far enough. That's probably gonna be the honest question, like, it's gonna be very hard to go down to 3 mills one year, or just because there's,
We've been really frugal.
oh, and I'm not, again, I'm not
And
trying to
I
be
know, but-
offensive, I'm just telling you that, like, especially with that airport, like, there's always just,
Room
it's
for
no,
improvement.
well, there's always just things, so
Yeah.
I think you're pretty much just gonna have to expect if you have 3 to 4 mills in there, it's probably not gonna
It'll
change
be
much, 'cause you
4,
just,
yeah.
I mean, $160,000, although it sounds like a lot, really just, like we were just talking about with road projects, it
Yeah.
just, you start digging into stuff, it doesn't go that far.
No.
So,
we might just surprise you. No, I do think, you know, we've had a lot of discussion on that, you know, what our starting point should be when we were, you know, I think we were here a couple of years ago, someone came in and asked, prior to the apron reconstruction, our last project, there was a design phase of that, so we ended up covering that in its entirety, and I think we had probably requested some funding for that, which you weren't able to do at that time, so we covered it. I think this year with these 4 mills, we're playing catch up for about 3 or 4 years, we should have been receiving some additional funding. And I agree with what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but I think it might be able to be backed down. Once we get these capital improvement projects in line again and get caught up with all the money that we've taken basically for operating and used for capital improvements. And I do, because I have to say this, Lord, it's very frugal. But we do have some deferred maintenance. There is that we're gonna be trying to catch up on within the next year.
Well, and I only mean it because even our earlier discussion about things like even just like a complimentary car thing, like as you go down the road, there's always
Yeah.
gonna be something to improve, which I think we should do. Like, if you're gonna go this far, where we're gonna be essentially partners in the airport, whatever you wanna call it,
Yeah,
then it should be as efficient as not just about being frugal, but operating the way it should, so that it is useful the way it needs to be. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just about cutting mills if you're not providing the service that you feel is necessary to make it viable, so that's where.
Well, kind of our, the thoughts about the community car or the courtesy car would be to talk to Gary Sanders down here, see if he has if he's trading in a police car that is marginal, but to take out the police package and use that as a,
yeah.
It was talked about.
Yeah, we just had that discussion.
We had that
during the
discussion this
budget
morning.
with Gary.
Yeah. Good idea.
Another consideration is that if the county is in on this, then that might be a good way to cycle out maybe our, like as we're upgrading, like, I mean, obviously short of not having a total junker, but just a vehicle that it's like, well, it's got 200-some thousand, but it's still pretty good, it's just
Yeah.
not reliable enough for
No
a
mice.
50-mile drive,
No
but to
mice,
get from the
no mice
airport
and
to
no
town,
duck.
you know.
So we have a Ford Explorer right now that the county uses as our, and we just decided that we're going to keep one of the Tahoes. And they're buying another Tahoe, so we maybe cycle that Ford Explorer out there, which is about 10 million times better than the courtesy car out there. It is high miles, but you can walk from the airport 9 months out of the year and not die because you're close enough to town, and it will get you no mice. It's a decent vehicle,
Well, the
so.
current county car is a decent vehicle, right, it's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
roadworthy, it's just, it's getting to
absolutely.
the point where it's like, once you have 200-some thousand on, sending people 50 miles in the middle of winter with it, is, you start to
Versus 3
consider.
miles.
Exactly, so, I mean, there's things we can help out with that stuff too, which will also make things a little more efficient, cause we already have some vehicles, I mean, there's things that'll work, so so the idea is that is we're going to put 4 mills onto the preliminary, or the proposed budget.
That's what you guys want?
Right, but I mean, the idea would be in the general fund?
In the what?
It would go towards like with the general fund, or where,
No,
where?
There's an airport
This
authority.
should go to the airport authority
Yeah,
fund.
it would
The two
be,
commissioners have the authority to put meals on, it's a different
It
list.
already exists, we don't have to create it.
Right.
nope, we just
Okay.
have to put them on.
It just has 0 mills on it.
Right,
So we've got the heading for it, just no mills allocated. to
Correct.
it.
Now, the other question,
I have a question.
that's all
for
legal?
Joe,
Uh-huh.
Joe, do they have to do a resolution to put a new millage on or not?
I'm not sure on this one, I can look it up quick.
I don't know.
cause if the fund is already created, but we're not levying mills, to me, it sounds like that would be just a case where you.
There's a levy authority in the levy limitation book by the tax commissioner's office,
Sure,
where the county commissioners can levy up to 4 mills in airport, in a county airport.
And we can do this without the voice of the vote of the people.
You don't have to have a vote of the people, but I don't know if you have to pass a resolution or not.
well, that's, yeah, cause the other question would be too, does that authority also have to have its own board, just like a weed board, and all, that's what we've talked about before, like, cause that's where I'm
You
saying,
know what?
cause sometimes in that,
You don't think so?
I don't, but we can check into it further. I don't think the other counties.
Because we talked about that at the last meeting, about a board. Or
Well,
the
they have a
restructuring
board.
Right.
but we would appoint a
One or
member
two
from the
guys.
county or however, I mean, that's the stuff we need to figure out, how you appoint them, how long they serve. Right now, they take anybody with a pulse that's willing to stay on the board for as long as possible, because there's just not that many people, but there's interested people, especially if it's open as a county airport and we open it up, there are interested people in the county that I think would sit on the board. We
Is
just
it a
need
real
to,
lucrative board?
we need to have a
Get
joint
paid for it.
agreement and we talk
Yes,
about.
we get paid almost as much as,
Looking through
we get less than you
bylaws.
guys get.
well, so, and the only reason I question that is just because there might be specifics with the airport authority versus another fund, cause the reason I say that is, like when I was on the water board, and then won my election to be county commissioner, I had to resign from the water board because for some reason, in Century Code,
Yep.
a county commissioner cannot sit on on a county water board, like you can on the weed board, social, for some reason, on
No,
the county
that's
water board,
crazy.
you cannot have a commissioner,
That's
so
crazy.
that only enlightened me to the idea that every time this stuff happens, you do need to double check to just make sure that there isn't something in law that says the county commissioners cannot be the airport authority board. It might say that, it might not,
Yeah.
it does need to get looked into,
You'll
that's all,
check
I
it
just
out.
double check it, cause,
So where would these bylaws be?
well, no, that would just be state century code, it shouldn't be hard to find, but it's just something, you know, before you start acting
Are
or
you
making
talking
plans, you just gotta make
airports?
sure.
Bylaws.
Right.
Well, the airport authority would have those, and that's where we just need to merge everything. If we're gonna do this, we just,
'Cause
we
you
need
can-
to see
I
those
think like we
bylaws,
talked-
and we need to sign I don't know, Sharon was gonna look into an agreement, or right, talk to the, how we do an agreement together, those are the things we need to iron out.
Yeah,
If you look at the Airport Authorities Act that we brought last month, that kind of tells you the North Dakota Century Code that gives you authority to levy the mills and the limitation. When you talked about going to a vote of the people, the one thing that just exercising your authority to do it, that's where you have that discretion then. If this year it's 4 mills and next year we only need 3, then it can be 3 mills. You know, and that's kind of all outlined in here. And as I said, I believe there were 22 other counties that levy, and we can certainly check with a few of them. And I can let Marlis know, I know I talked to probably 4 or 5 of them a couple years ago or so to see how they do it. But I can just touch base with those or some of our neighboring counties to see how they do it. And I don't know that they necessarily have a separate setup, it's they levy it and then they pass it on to their airports. So,
then the other question too is the 3% cap,
Because there's a 0 meals last year,
yeah.
Apply.
it doesn't apply.
Okay, cause that was my other question, was like, is it per items or is it the budget as a whole?
Because it's a brand new levy and
Okay.
there was nothing milled last
So
year.
that wouldn't be an issue.
It's considered a 0 mills, so it doesn't apply.
It's not an issue, because it was 0 mills last year, so you don't have to figure that in your budget cap. And you would just, the formulas on the worksheet, it just kind of adds it into last year, and then uses it to figure out what your base 3% cap is gonna be. So, and the other thing you had talked about, you know, who serves on the board, it's a 5-member board right now, there's 4 board members. With the majority of them have an interest in aviation, have maybe some experience in aviation, pilots, things like that. That's kind of who generally has served in the past, is somebody with an interest in aviation. And again, there is a vacancy, our previous chairman had stepped down. And I don't know if you've had a chance to think about it, or if anyone here wants to serve on it, or I know I was told there's a couple of pilots, I think one probably in the Hazelton area, one Strasburg, that might sit on it. But if you guys would like to appoint someone, I guess we're kind of looking to see if you had any thought on that. We'd like to fill that vacancy, and if you have any thought. But we can wait too and see what you're thinking. And again, we would like to run this out by the city council next Monday night, but I don't think there's gonna be any issues with it. As far as creating a whole new board, we talked about a name change last month. Again, the name change is not as difficult to do. It can be, somebody suggested Linton Emmons County Airport. I mean, we can do a name change without a lot of paperwork involved or the extreme. Changing the whole board structure becomes just something a little bit different. It's gonna take a few more years. And actually having that extra status, there's different acronyms for what level you are going. We are definitely a federally funded airport, and then going up to the next level, it's kind of based on the number of aircrafts that you have at your airport, that are based out of your airport. I'm not sure we would be at that level to go to that next upper level. So that would all be something we need to work out moving forward.
Sharon, what did you find out about like a joint powers agreement or a joint agreement, have you looked into that or?
You know, I've not done a lot of research into that yet, and until we kind of know the definite direction we wanna take, is there gonna be a mill levy, and then what type, it talks about it in here, joint agreements that you can put together.
Well, I think the majority's feeling fairly strong that we wanna support this. Am I correct in that assumption? I mean, we wanna see this
Yeah.
airport
Oh, yeah.
strive, we wanna see it stay here, we don't wanna lose this infrastructure.
Right.
And then, yeah, from there, like I said, we need to figure out the rest of the details, but
Well, I don't think there's any harm in putting it in the proposed budget anyway. And I think it's probably the right way to do it, because we are gonna have to have a public hearing. If there's the kind of outrage that some people think might happen, it's gonna come out in a public hearing, and if nobody shows up, I mean, that's the forum, you know, like
You gotta do it.
I think put it in the preliminary budget. You know, let it go through its steps, let it go through its processes. That gives us another couple months to keep evaluating this process as far as if people wanna see different changes, or if, you know, which direction, to see what the city says with their side. And, you know, cause it's not gonna be proved till what, October? You know, so, I mean, it's not like if you, I would say shutting it down now would probably be a little premature, just because we've kinda had a different discussion. I think we gained a lot of ground last month with where we wanted to go. I wouldn't have a problem putting it in the preliminary budget and see what happens, and let's have a hearing on it and see what people think. If 100 people show up and say it's a bad idea, maybe you reconsider a scenario. If nobody shows up, then it's really not that big a deal. Maybe somebody brings a different idea at the hearing, that's why you have the hearings, and go from there.
Yeah, it's open.
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, one
Sounds
thing
like a
to
plan.
consider, just, even just for your own sakes, if you have any hesitations, if you go through and approve this mill levy and it's not going the way everybody expected, or somehow it's bad, you reduce the mill levy, and, again, I mean, there's always an avenue, it's not like you're locked into some
Yeah.
20-year scenario, and if it works out great, then it's probably the right decision, and maybe should've got done before, I mean, you just,
yeah.
It's a starting point.
right, I think putting in the preliminary budget and just having it follow through the process is a way we should go.
And just put it in at a $4
Sounds
million.
good.
Well, yeah, and like I said, you're
Just
not
go from
committing
there.
anything today other than the fact that you're committing to moving forward, which I don't think anybody's against.
Everybody's okay.
Yeah, it's good. Yep.
Should we need,
No, I think we're just, it would be approved with the preliminary budget like everything else, right?
okay,
So I'd say just include it, and we would just improve it, or I mean, just approve it with the rest of the stuff.
and then we have to schedule, like, open.
That'll happen, but I don't know, the rules are different now that we don't have that.
I have to know when you wanna have your budget hearing, so we have to send out, by the end of August, we have to send out a budget hearing to
Okay.
everybody, let them know when
When they
everybody's
are.
hearings are, including the counties.
Mhm.
And you can have it between September 7th and October 7th. So we could actually have it at our October meeting if you wanted to at night, or if you wanted to have it at
When was the
any time.
last, what was the other one we were gonna have in October? What we just talked about this morning?
No, you're.
That was
Yeah,
August.
August.
I felt like we always had the hearing the same night we were gonna approve the budget, right? Like we always did it like in October, we had the hearing and then we just hammered it out right then, which I feel like is probably the best, cause
We had it
that's
like
the,
at 6 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock or whatever.
right,
Yeah.
so that's
Not bad.
that's
Do it at
probably,
the same
so,
day.
Yeah.
Do it at the same time.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds like a go-ahead plan.
Yeah, see what happens. See what the people have to say.
Right.
Yeah. You gotta do it anyhow, right, no matter what?
yeah, the hearing's happening no matter what, so might as well include the airport on it and see if anybody has anything
See
to
what
say.
happens. Yeah. What else, you got anything else to say?
Yeah, we're just debating, we should have that one more member on. If you know anybody from the county, or if anybody from this board wants to be on.
Way to think about it, Jim.
I run to Bismarck 4 times a year for already. A meeting, all kinds of training. That community action board is a lot more than a person thinks.
Yeah,
Boards will only work if you wanna be engaged.
yeah, right.
It's easy to sit on a board, it's when you have to do something that you have to do.
Yeah.
So I would suggest putting feelers out, we can put feelers out, we can contact the people that have, from the board, from the county that have already expressed interest. We can bring it up to you next month, or we can talk to you individually and, or somehow to get those people on.
And appointments go through the city board, the Lake City Board?
The airport authority would appoint someone and then take it to the city for approval. And
Okay.
that's where we were thinking, we would just do the approval thing over.
Okay.
If that works for you guys, if you want the airport just to proceed with one of those people that's interested. Is that what you're thinking?
Yep.
I definitely think having aviation people that have an interest in aviation or were pilots or flew or
Yeah,
are good people to have on that board,
I think so.
substantially more, you know, unless a farmer's interested in getting on that knows quite a bit about, spraying or, you know, something that's related to a bigger part of the airport or, it's probably a good idea.
I think so.
And we do have to keep, you know, again, in moving forward, you want to replace, you don't want just to like unseat everybody, because you do have to have somebody on that board that has some of that experience with aviation. For example, if there's a reason that somebody shouldn't be landing at the airport, or if there is something wrong with the fuel system and fuel isn't available, you wouldn't want somebody, their destination being down the road, but we're gonna land and fill in Linton, and now you can't because there's something wrong with the fuel system. We do have someone who, you know, they're qualified, they go in and they issue what's called a NOTAM. So it sends it out to the whole aviation world that there isn't fuel available at Linton right now, or whatever it might be, the runway is under construction, things like that. So you do wanna keep some of that experience on your board. So, and again, having that aviation interest, they're familiar with those types of things. But it's always good to bring another sector in though too. And involves the outside sector, so we have a little bit of that now, and we'll move forward with trying to find somebody in before they're appointed, bring the names here.
Well, most of the guys that are on the board now, do they have aviation background?
We have, yes, a majority of them are.
Okay.
Bruce was a pilot, Orlock was a pilot. Bruce Orlock, Travis Doctor is a pilot. So yes, a majority of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bruce was at the meeting last month.
Oh,
Yeah, that's Bruce
okay.
Orlock, he was at the
Yeah.
meeting last month, and he sits on the board, he was a pilot. He also helps out with some of the electronics out there. And then Travis is a pilot as well, he has a plane, flies, so, okay.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if anybody comes up with any questions at any time, just always feel free to contact me. And if I don't have the answer for you, we'll find it.
Good,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
thanks.
Let's see what else we got here. Continuation of the 26 budgets and discussion.
It's just my stuff to go through.
This is your
You
stuff,
want
right?
just quick me-
Would
want
you
me
like to
quick
go up and
through
talk
it?
about it?
Huh?
Would you like to go up to the mic
No,
and
I
speak?
don't. You're asking. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, whatever's left, but I can go through it if you want me to.
Would you like to?
I don't have to,
Yes, you do.
do I? Okay.
You
The
wanna
first
start
one
with
is
what,
the-
the treasurer?
The first one is the auditor's budget. The only thing that I changed is I dropped my publishing down. I only spent $5,700 last year, so, and through May, I'm only at 2,000, so I dropped that down $1,000. And then the next one is the treasurer's budget. I went up on some technology, cause I'm gonna replace a computer over there and a printer over there in that office next year, so that's why I went up a little bit on that. Let me see what else we've got. Motor vehicle, I dropped that down, from 5,000, last year we had 8,000, I dropped it down to 5 because we did replace 2 of the front computers, so we don't need to, so they're brand new, so I dropped that down to like 2,000. Probably won't need it, but I put it in there just in case. And then risk manager, that, I get reimbursed for that from the NDACO for doing all the LMS courses that I have the employees do. Last time we got a check back for like $2,800. And then also, I do inspection reports, where I have to go around every office and do an inspection report. And we got like a total back this year of like $7,000 just by doing all the safety classes and everything, so that pretty much pays for itself. Then the next one is the county commissioner budget. I need to know what you guys want me to put in there for salaries.
Same as what it is, right?
Boy, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Nothing looks worse than
Oh, man, take it.
raising your nose.
Not a chance.
So this line item for the chairman gets an additional $100 a month, right?
Yeah.
That's what you guys
Yes, that's,
did
That's
last
good.
year.
No, don't even do it, I'll get it pasted to the wall. Get your shit through, don't even be the front page.
well, I think you deserve it, I'm not criticizing it, I just wanted to make
Did you
sure
get
that
it
that line
before?
item, no.
Well, why would I take it? No.
Well, somebody had to get it, I can tell you after taking it, like, I mean, $100 a month really probably isn't
It's in
enough, but
there
it's
now
something.
for
Yeah,
this year.
no, it should be.
Yeah, I agree.
That was my parting gift to you, Commissioner Materi. Chairman
You
Materi,
bet, yeah,
You're
you bet,
welcome.
Chairman Baker.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
So you wanna do anything with those salaries next year? No?
I'm fine the way it is.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
fair.
And then the next one is superintendent of schools, we have the Dick Grant to do that. There's hardly any, the only reason why we had so much in 2024 is because of the Baca school dissolution. Other than that, we don't really use them for anything, but you gotta have it in there just in case. And then the DEM is our emergency manager, Mary Singer puts his budget together and she kept it the same as last year. And then the next one is courthouse building and grounds. Every year I put in 50,000 so that we have it in case something goes wrong and to upkeep the courthouse.
Yeah.
And the next one's utilities, of course. And then the elections, I didn't have too much last year, but of course, next year is a big election again, so it costs over $30,000.
Insane for an election.
Wow.
The ballot machines, everything, yes, everything is so expensive, yeah.
Unreal.
Yep. NDACO, that is our dues that we pay to NDACO annually. They kept it the same as last year.
Yeah. I'm getting a little eye contact from this one here. Yeah.
Yeah, we brought it up at the start.
I got some.
Yeah,
You got some eye feedback, didn't you, from that elderly man?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, even couple guys came over and talked to,
Yeah, gave me a good talking to.
yeah. They were wondering,
Really, what'd they say?
they were wondering why, right?
Shame on you.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Never heard of that, brought that up.
Some of the other commissioners were?
One of the commissioners from Wells County?
Well, I think he was,
Yeah.
Jumped him.
yeah.
He was hurt.
A little bit.
He was hurt.
What was the general consensus other than that?
Well, they just kinda looked at me funny. I
Yeah, and
didn't-
there wasn't much, no, hardly.
There was no talk after, not much.
No, no,
And this, he came up after the meeting,
right,
Okay.
before lunch.
Yeah, we'll just wait till there's a nuclear disposal facility that the state's shoving down their throat, then they'll turn into John Adams and Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
They'll be the new patriots. I'm telling you, it's the same reason, it's the same thing with all of us, you go through this stuff and you find out that, you know, people aren't
I don't
sticking
think-
up for you, and especially like with the association,
And I respect you guys.
I'm sure.
When you made that initial remark when I first got on the board, when we weren't part of it, and then we come on board with them last year,
Mm-hmm.
and then what they pulled up there at the legislation. it
Right.
Just.
Yeah, that's
Well, I feel like a lot of times they're just far more into appeasement than actually doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Right.
which is lobbying on behalf of counties, and they're far too chummy with some of the industry,
The upper-
because if you go to the conference in October, all you gotta do is look at the sponsor sheets.
yeah.
And I mean, it's all the industry that they all of a sudden can't
Industry,
seem to
yeah.
beat, they can't beat them, you know.
Well, they didn't stand up for us, they more or less said, well, we couldn't beat them, so we tried to make it the least harmful to.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Was that
Was
how?
that how they said it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, and the other trouble that you have too is like we keep having these ongoing discussions about these increased costs for stuff like this, and it's like,
Why didn't they step up?
well, I mean, even the same thing, like with the caps, I know they fought the caps and stuff, but then they also fought Measure 4. And so it's like, okay, well, you're fighting all the way around, and it seems to me like we have the same or worse system, so
Yeah.
what are you accomplishing? Like a good example I'd like to bring up is, I think it was, what's the Breathe ND,
The what?
Breathe ND, that's like the anti-tobacco
Coalition.
Oh,
it had to be created to receive federal dollars through the state and all that, you know, and when my dad first got in the legislature, then Breathe ND came in, and they made the argument that, well, they reduced smoking by X amount of dollars or X amount of people, you know, and Dad's like, well, then you should need less money, right? Because then you're doing your job. I'm like, well, no, it's getting worse way over here. He's like, well, it's getting worse and you're not doing your job. What is it? Like, but it's, the only, that's kind of an unfair statement to a point, but the reason why I bring it up with like the Association of Counties is, we have this association, we're all a part of it, we have all this training, and they teach us how to do all this stuff, and then you get in there and you're like, well, how come this is like this? How come this doesn't get fixed? How come, like, at what point are you like, well, if you don't have any juice up there to be able to get some of this stuff changed, then what are you doing up there? Like,
Yeah.
it just kinda does frustrate me a little bit, because you know, I'm not saying these dues aren't even worth it, cause they provide other services, but it seems like on their lobbying end, like, are they either just too friendly with the people making the rules, or do they just absolutely have no real sway, which makes you wonder, you know, sometimes if
Why are
it's.
they even there?
Well, you
Why
kinda
are they
wonder,
even
because,
there?
again,
Forget the picture.
a lot of people buy into this association, but yet at the same time, it's like, are they really providing the service that you're looking for with, you know, they wanna collect our 911 fees, but then
Right.
they
Oh,
can't
yeah.
seem to do anything at the legislature to fix property tax. And they always end up getting the short end of the stick, and you're like, well, what, at what point don't you guys win one? Like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
it's probably unfair too, cause I'm sure they probably have a list of things they've accomplished, but I just feel like sometimes it probably needs a little bit of a shakeup, I guess, I don't know.
Well, I think it didn't do any harm to bring it up.
No, it didn't.
I mean, at least.
It rattled
kind of-
Kate.
It rattled them.
Rattled them.
Well, and I mean, they get buy-in from other commissioners that wanna be a part of it and think it's a good organization, and I'm not saying it's just
Oh,
totally
yeah, it's like
toxic,
a
but,
fraternity,
you know, as commissioners, you look for the Association of County to try, the counties to do some of that stuff.
Or,
And
yeah.
there's times where they just, it doesn't seem like
It
they're.
doesn't seem right?
But again, they also have a committee made up of other commissioners that also decide some of their ideas, so I guess the true answer is probably more of us should get involved.
Yeah, that's the other.
But then at the same time,
It'd be
too,
good
you
over
still have the same employees, I'm gonna ignore that comment, and just, what'd you say, Dan? I'm hard of hearing. But, I mean, that's
Break it up, right?
where you struggle, I don't know,
Yeah, I hear you, I wasn't impressed at all.
I probably don't have a good enough reason to take the Association of Counties fees out of the budget just yet.
You wanna just send them half?
Send them half, I mean,
Well, what would happen if we pull out now?
we just wouldn't be members, and we'd join about 3 or 4 other counties, there's not a lot of counties, but there's some that aren't members.
I know one is, but I don't know about any.
Because there's like 53 counties and there's 48 members or 49 or,
Something like that,
it's
right.
something like that. There's a few
Really?
counties that do not, it's just an association you pay fees to be a member, that's all it is. There's no requirement that we have to be a part of it, it's just, there probably are things that, you know, we probably have to look elsewhere for help on things that they give us because we're members.
Well, is there merit to that you lose your liability insurance if you are a member with them?
I don't know about that, but
Is
there
that
probably
true or
is,
false?
NDIR, no, you
There-
don't have to be.
no, I mean, there are,
There is with workforce safety,
Huh?
our workforce safety insurance,
Is
we
through
go
that,
through the Association of Counties.
is it cheaper or you
Yes,
can't
it's a
find
lot.
anybody
It's-
else that?
If we would quit these guys, I was told that our workforce safety insurance would go up more than what our dues are. Cause we had like a $7,000 savings a couple of years ago.
So is this part of our liability insurance also, like
No.
this deal with Mock?
No,
No, nothing.
that's through North Dakota Insurance Reserve.
Okay.
we do receive some perks by being an association member. Same thing with like that nearly free tractor we get to mow ditches.
Yep.
That's because the Association of Counties has basically a deal with the Ag Equipment
Equipment.
Association,
Oh,
and they partner with them and we get reduced rates on things like
Okay.
equipment rent
And
and
I don't
stuff,
know
so.
about like our, workers' comp, you know, when I file workers' comp claims, I use the NDACO employer number, we'd have to have our own. I don't know what kind of discounts we could get there anymore, I don't know.
so it's probably still has merit.
Well, then how long have we been with them and how many years will be without them?
We've been with them since I've been here.
Yeah, I would say Emmons County's been a member for
For a long
a
time.
long time.
Long-
And then all the trainings, like those ILGs that we get to do.
Yeah.
If we're
Is
not
that open to
members,
them then,
do
if you're
we
not a member?
still get to do it?
Probably, there's probably a non-membership fee, and I'm sure it's more expensive, I mean, like I said, I don't think I got enough evidence to cut their membership out, but pay it under protest.
Yeah, and it's just preliminary budget, so we can,
No,
we
it's
can
fine,
always come
the
back to it.
Association of Counties does bring a lot of benefits, I think the biggest disappointment we have is probably their lobbying arm to the legislature is probably not.
Very strong.
In my mind, I don't think it's very strong for the counties right now, and I think that probably needs to get brought up, I think, and again, the proper course of action is probably to get somebody on this board to maybe see if they can get on their legislative committee or some type of board of directors, so there is some input there, cause in the end, I think it is county commissioners that are making a bulk of these decisions. It's just, I think, when you look at the list of even the county commissioners, there's a lot of them in the oil field, there's a lot of, so there seems to be more of a pro-industry attitude than maybe a property rights attitude,
Yeah.
which doesn't mean they're necessarily wrong, but I think they're maybe looking at it from maybe too much of an economic standpoint, not a property rights standpoint, and that's where a county like Emmons, we're probably have a different point of view than we did even 5 years ago on some of these topics, and it's probably time for somebody to get involved with it maybe a little more, you know, even if it's not a county commissioner, maybe it's a state's attorney or somebody, there could be maybe some input, or maybe we motivate someone from Burley County to try and get on that board, cause they seem to have a like mind on some of this stuff. That's probably the proper course of action, rather than just pulling out of it and not
Yeah,
being part of it, it's probably to
try
try
to-
and make it better rather
Yeah.
than just quit it, so.
Try to improve, yeah.
That's
The
coming
right
from,
people on board.
that's coming from a member that would be fine with quitting. But I don't think we're gonna make it any better, I think quitting wouldn't solve it, it would just probably make it
No,
worse, I think.
We probably do that.
It's sad though what happened.
Right.
Well, and I think even just as a group, maybe we just need to be more vocal, maybe not rudely, but just more like, maybe we need to draft some things and have our input on, maybe attend those meetings by phone and just try and have some input, or, you know, we are dues paying members.
So we're
We do
entitled
the
to
same-
speak your
Right,
piece.
just like a co-op or anything,
Yeah.
so we probably
Right.
haven't done our job in attending the meetings and staying up on things and trying to maybe navigate some of the policy decisions, you know?
They put on a conference at the end of
Oh,
October.
you
Yeah,
said,
I
when
was-
do they have, in the end of October?
Yeah, I was
Do
reading
you
In
guys
Bismarck?
get their monthly newsletter?
Yeah, I
They'll
do.
have on there when their conference.
So guys, we should attend it as a group,
Right, and that's where, like I said, our frustrations probably need to be
vented there.
funneled more towards input and trying to have some direction there, rather than just maybe, you know, sitting on the sidelines and then being upset about
Yeah,
it, so that's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
the right way to do it.
What was that, a year and a half you and I went? Is that in January or something?
Well, there's a couple different events that they do have, there's the
There
annual
was
convention,
one.
and then there's trainings, and there's other stuff too, and you know, so there's then there's their legislative committee, which that's actually how my dad kinda got an interest in the legislature, is by being a county commissioner. I think he was on their legislative call-in board, or, like, every Friday, they, like, Aaron Burse and Terry Trainer and them would give updates, and then there's separate committees all the time with the associates. Some of them are policy making, some of them are just update committees, you know, where you get on there and you get information. There's all kinds of stuff that you can participate in, it's just whether or not you can make the time to do it, which is hard, and so
Yeah,
some
yeah,
people
yeah.
do and some don't. The ones that do, they get more input than the ones that don't, it's just
You're
like the
exactly
world's
right.
ran by those who show up, so.
And then during their conference, they have like resolutions that they vote on, if you wanna be a
Yeah.
voting delegate for Emmons County.
What did
There
Burge
we
do
go.
before he got on
Well, Aaron Burse was legal counsel for the association
Yeah.
before he became the executive
there?
director.
Legal counsel.
He
Yes,
was the
he's an
lawyer.
attorney.
Okay.
Yeah,
Terry Trainer was the executive director, and Aaron was the lead counsel for association.
Okay.
And then he got promoted, and then I'm sure one of the lower lawyers got promoted to, you know, legal counsel or whatever. So yeah, he was,
Okay.
so yeah, Aaron's been with them for quite a while too, though. He's been with the association for a long time, so.
I didn't think he was an attorney.
Yeah, one of you wanna go to the conference, be the voting delegate, let me know. I'd love to get off of there for once.
Mr. Garber?
Mr. Retired farmer, who's got a heck of a lot more time than I do.
Hey, I'm manager, you know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, the next one is just some miscellaneous expenses. To the left, you'll see what I budgeted for examination fees. I usually throw some in for, something happens, I've got some, a cushion there for some miscellaneous stuff. That usually miscellaneous is somebody comes to my office and says, my laptop went kaboot and I didn't put anything in my budget. Well, then I run to this here, you know.
And this money can always go back into the general.
It'll stay in the general, it doesn't get spent.
Okay.
And then we have to, the next one's unemployment, we have to budget something for unemployment in case somebody goes on unemployment. And then there's community restitution, that's community service that we budget, we have a yearly contract with Century Inc. And they bill us out $1,200 every quarter, it's for community service.
I gotta ask you, Marlis, the examination fees, what does that entail?
My audit, we do the.
Yearly audit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Advertising, that's that Lewis and Clark fees that he was talking about today, this Brent, that's what the
Oh.
advertising is.
There you go.
The next one is abandoned cemeteries, according to the Century Code, we're responsible to keep up abandoned cemeteries, so, we usually put in $3,500 for that.
What do you mean by keep them up, keep them out, or what do you do?
Well, yeah.
Put a fence around them, maybe if they're out in a field or something.
Normally we don't do anything unless somebody complains, you know, but we've had it happen,
We had it there east of Strasburg.
yes.
Gary Hager was instrumental in that one with the old city of Strasburg that used to be.
I know when Nick was still road superintendent, there was an abandoned cemetery where some of the crosses were broken off and the fence was bad and never was mowed, and so Nick went out and took care of that.
I think that was the one way out there west of like, is it Kramer Lake out there? Way out by like, west of, like Doug Beekler and all that way out there.
Oh.
That was an event, and I think that's
Was
the
that by
one where,
Saint Bernard?
yep, or I'm not sure if that's the one, but Nick was road superintendent, they went out and they fixed some fence and mowed it, and
Yeah.
it took like a half a day with like two guys and went out there and cleaned it up, and then we used some of that funds to pay some.
And the road department usually watches the abandoned ones if there's something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Is it
and
still
then-
kept up or no?
Well, I think eventually what happens is some of the locals will eventually kinda
Step
chime,
up.
because even like that trestle pole or whatever, that
Yeah.
one we just did there, I drove by that here the other day, that looks nice, like,
Cleaned up,
now
it's,
that they fenced it and built that little road, now it looks like someone must be mowing out there, so it, once you kinda maintain it, it seems like someone is like, well, I could start doing that, so you really, it's not like you have to do it
I
forever,
think
but it's,
Hager does it, Gary.
yeah,
Oh, does he?
I think he goes down.
but it's a good, I think
Oh, gosh.
it's good to just help out with some of that stuff a little
Yeah.
bit, and so.
I agree, 100%.
They're all gonna be there someday.
Yeah,
And then the next one's insurance reserve, I pay our workers' comp out of here too, and our state farm and tornado, and then NDIRF insurance gets out of there. And then food pantry coordinator, we pay the food pantry $500 a month to run the food pantry. County park, that's Langley's Bay. Our expenditures for, Langley's Bay, and Wrights Lake is included on that too. And then the next one is technology, that's for our software programs, our internet, our tower rent, bulk service, telephone for the elevator, back camera storage, energy, technology, Tyler Technology, our software program, and I put a little bit in for miscellaneous.
God, it's gonna cost money.
And then HR, that's Tanya Weiler. I lowered that, I put 10,000 in last time, and I don't think we're gonna need, I took that down to half, I don't think we're gonna be using her and stuff.
And if we would, where do we pull the money, just the
I
general?
would just have to, if this is the general fund, all this is from the general. Capital projects, I stuck that $50,000 in here for, if you recall, Craig was in here last month with that roof. He said like
Oh,
30-some thousand, but he told me you better put extra because sometimes it's more than what they say.
Yeah.
exactly.
And then the rest of them are just some other special revenues, like the airport, public health turned in their budget. The only one I haven't received yet is the senior citizens. So, I got some forms ready for her, she was gonna pick them up probably today. we got the weed board, the water board, now the weed board,
Lewis and Clark, $5,300.
that's at
That's
Brent,
That's the membership.
Yep, that's what Brent was in today.
Do we, does the county, like I said, the city, we use Lewis and Clark quite a bit, like the Nodak apartments, when they wanna do stuff like that, they, you know, and then you do block grants and all kinds of stuff through them, the city has to approve them, you kinda back them, does the county do much through them?
We don't really have no businesses in the county, usually it's in the city.
I suppose, yeah.
County did.
Yeah, but doesn't the county have to be a member for the cities to be eligible? I
Yes.
think that's,
Oh, that's
that's the
how that
reason why
works.
we do that still,
Okay.
though, is because
Okay, that
if
makes
Emmons
sense.
County's not a member, I don't think Lytton can be a member.
No.
then,
That
so
makes sense,
yeah.
okay.
I know they've done a lot, like with the Hay grocery store,
Oh,
and
yeah, well, like, even, like I
I think
said,
with the Strasburg deal,
in
with
Hazelton
with
there,
that grocery
yeah.
store.
Well,
Streamers,
The
that, they helped
Willows
out,
here.
they helped out with Cody buying streamers.
Oh, they helped Barry Bunker.
Five people right there.
Well, there's been a few people,
Blattner's
cause they have
got
them,
the guys
them
over
small
Michigan,
business
they got five
loans
guys
and
from
the,
I told them
Sure.
about South
Things like
Africa.
that,
I
so.
make a deal with the farmer. Throw about 10 of them in there. So, I think they're gonna make it work.
I know I probably wouldn't have the, like the Hogue apartments being filled if it wouldn't be for like Lewis and Clark helping out with some of the funding and stuff.
Are they filled?
Well, no, but I mean, now it's
The
getting
Willows,
operated
the
by.
Willows has got 5, they've got, when I talked to Clint, they got 5 people.
Yeah, or the
from Michigan.
Willows, or, yeah,
Where?
yeah.
In the whole, man?
In the whole building, yeah.
Now, that's low income?
No, that's gone, that's
No.
been gone for a long time, this is
That's
regular
been
income.
purchased.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 But I mean,
thought
that's
that
how,
was-
that, like Lewis and Clark helped,
I didn't know he bought that.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
They got 5 guys from
He bought
the
it from Dave.
wind towers over by Wishick that are, renting places and,
Yep.
yeah. I
And
think
you're talking about the Willows Motel as being?
No, I'm talking
No,
about the whole
Okay,
Willows
right,
apartments,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
yeah, I mean, the Broadway
Willows
part.
Street.
I heard the Willows Motel was purchased by Kevin Evenson.
Oh, boy.
Boy.
I don't know if that's true or not, that's what I was told.
I don't
My wife said that'd be perfect,
There
he could
hasn't
put
been
lumber in
any.
room number 1, and he could put electrical in room number 2, he could organize all this stuff.
Yeah, that would be good.
I think that's probably hearsay.
There hasn't
It
been
may
a
be,
deed that
but-
came through, so.
What's that? There
No
hasn't
deed
been?
has come through, no.
Maybe they paid cash for it, and they haven't. Yeah, I don't.
Any questions on him? You know, like the weed board now, they went up quite a bit. So I kind of went to their meeting last week Wednesday, and I said, you know, you guys are increasing by 40%, that's quite a bit. So we have about 3% cap, so they did lower it a little bit now, but.
What's this, ambulance election mill levy thing I saw on Facebook?
The ambulance used to have their own mill levy of 2 mills. In the 2023 legislative session, the legislators changed it that all ambulances have to have their own district.
Okay.
So we had a redistrict meeting, they formed a board, and now they can vote to go up to 15 mills. And they're gonna,
And they just do that there, that doesn't have to go through the court, that's their own private board deal,
No.
huh? Okay. I just thought it was like, okay, just go to the ambulance garage and
Well, it's the same as like a fire department then, right? If they
Yeah.
have their own levy
I had
authority
somebody
and their
call me
own
last
board.
week and asked why I'm not running the election and why it isn't in the courthouse, and fire districts do it that way too.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
Do we have to, we don't have to approve the preliminary today, right? That,
No, I just need
Yeah.
to know what you guys wanna do, like, so that I know what to fund in for like employees, salaries, if you wanna give a COLA raise or whatever, so that I have an idea.
You know what would be nice, Marlis, to be honest with you, is if we would get this whole, pay scale thing rolling, because there's some increases already figured in that whole deal, moving people into certain positions, you know what I mean? Cause nobody went back, everybody either stayed fairly close to the same or went up, so I hate to do a COLA increase and some people are already getting 2% or 1% or a 0.5% or 3%. And we don't know what that number is if we adopt this thing, you know what I mean? Cause I know totally, if I remember right, with the longevity and all that stuff was like 140 grand, which we know at this point there's.
That was for, I think, both departments, the courthouse and.
Right, everybody, yep, as a whole, it was 140 grand. But I don't know if, I don't recall if there was cause I know there was talk, well, bringing just everybody into the scale and making it one scale across the board, and then if we still wanted to look at longevity, that might have to be another discussion. And I don't know what that number is, that number would be nice to know, in my opinion, prior to giving a COLA increase.
Okay, I'll tell you
Pretty
what,
much need a.
why don't I figure out, because I have till September to do this. I have a whole month of August to do this, yeah. Why don't we, put a preliminary budget together with both? I could put one together with the grade and step, and then I could do, cause we have that 3% cap, so we don't have to afford to do that.
Right.
And then I could put another proposal together with a certain percent for COLA. You want me to do two of them? I can do that.
Well, you're going to that grade
You
step
can-
anyhow,
So you're gonna do all the work, Morris, yeah, you compare.
I mean, I can figure, it wouldn't take that much.
Wouldn't
I'll
it take
figure
long?
out with what COLA, what percent increase would be, put those numbers in. And then I can also do a step and grade and plug
Keep
those
the
numbers
numbers
in
in
and
there.
see what I come up with.
Well, you also got the what, 15% increase in health insurance, right?
Yeah, the insurance to go up, well, 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5 this year, 7.5 next year.
And that's gonna keep going up.
Yeah.
So that's almost like an increase.
That doesn't go down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like my accountant.
I
said,
get where you're
you
coming
pay for
from, but
insurance, you
the
said,
employee doesn't really
You
see
can't
that
regulate.
increase, it's not, it
Pay
doesn't,
increases
it
are
doesn't put
regulated.
milk in the fridge and bread on the table.
I won't do it, won't you?
You know what I mean, I get what you're saying, that health insurance increase that we pay to keep that health insurance is an increase for the employee, but it's not one that covers rent and anything else, so
There's
it's
a lot
hard.
of people out there that pay their own insurance.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying it's hard to, a cost of living increase being replaced by an increase in paying for their insurance does not make for very happy employees, cause we ran into the same kind of problem at the city. Cause our insurance went through the roof too, and then we did some alternative insurances to try to bring it back down. And we got off PERS, which I wasn't on the board, which may have been a very bad decision when it comes down to it. But anyway, it's done. I'm just saying, I still think a COLA increase is nice for people to see a few more dollars
In their hand.
in their check.
Who would pass it up?
Well, no, but I'm just saying, you keep people a little happier, than just by saying, well, your insurance is going up 7.5%, that's your raise, so we're gonna cover it for you. My opinion, that's my opinion, Joe, that's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
We got employees that don't take health insurance too.
You what?
We have employees
Yeah.
that don't take health insurance.
That's true too.
I don't take.
Because their husbands or their wives have the insurance and a better policy and cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't get compensated for that either.
They can't take a cash pay, can they?
No,
Either they take it or
They don't, you take it
Take it
or
or
don't
leave
get
it.
it.
you were told once you can't do that.
Yeah, so the question is, if she's gonna do this for us, where she plugs in everybody in the step increase, this step and grade, do we want, what number do we wanna give her a number for a COLA increase just to see what it looks like?
Well, I mean, the only issue you have, so if you're gonna, let's just say you do 4%, and you crunch those numbers. And then you do the step and grade, and crunch the numbers. And it turns out that the step and grade is the one we wanna do. Well, then you gotta approve the step and grade though, at least before the end of the year, right?
Well,
I
you
mean,
should do
you
it
have to.
before we approve the budget.
Right, and so that's where I'm saying, the better question is can the grade and step be finalized in the next 30 to 60
I
days?
just have to go in there, I've been to this Tyler training and stuff.
Mhm.
I just have to go in there and update, everything. We don't have one of the county employees in there right now. And then I kinda noticed that there was some calculation errors when Gary, Michelle and I, we kinda messed up on the 37.5 hours and 40 hours. I'd go in and change that, and then I'll meet with Gary and Michelle
I was
again.
gonna say, you guys need to do your department head thing.
And then
too,
we'll
to
do
make
the
sure you don't
department
go
head,
this
get
route.
together department head, cause we don't want take like Robin, for example, we want her to look at where she would be at, and her employees are at, and that she's happy with it. And then,
Right, 'cause I mean, I'm-
every department head, we wanna do that.
My point is if you decide to go with the 4% route, then you pretty much put a pin in the grade and step thing for another year. Because it's pretty hard to integrate a grade and step when you didn't use that as the.
Well, and that's
base
where it'd be
profile,
nice to
so-
see where we wind up with a grade and step, and maybe we just do a 2% COLA, because,
Right, but I'm just saying, if you do something that's not, you have to almost build the grade and step into the percentage if you're gonna try and implement it, otherwise you have to like, I'm talking myself in a circle.
well, and here,
Cause here's what I'm just trying to say though, if you wanna implement the grade and step, right, and it's, let's just say the increase came out to $100-some thousand, right, because some people got promoted,
Yep.
and then you do the 4% and it comes out at $80,000, so you're like, okay, we're gonna go with 4% because it's more feasible. Well, then you can't really implement a grade and step unless you build it to the 4%, because otherwise you're still, so
Right.
whatever one you decide as a board, you can't decide the grade and step unless we're confident we can implement it in time to match the budget too, so that's the question
Right.
more than which one do we want, it's which one can we actually make work at the
right,
time.
and that's
So-
kinda what I'm asking
Right.
too. Before we could make a COLA decision, we have to decide if that grade and step is a priority, which I think it should be, because I think we should have
Right.
even field across the whole county employee system, where when you hire somebody, you know what you're bringing them in at, and you have the flexibility, because there was discussion as a supervisor, you have flexibility to move somebody a certain amount of steps based on experience and other things. And then you have to, if you wanna go higher than that on steps, you have to justify that to the board, us, why you're doing it.
I mean, my opinion is I don't think we should really even look at a COLA. I think we should try and implement the grade and step and put all our energy into that. Even,
And I'm good with
and
that.
the only reason I say that is because you can do a COLA after it, like
Yeah.
down the road in years.
Yep.
It's hard to do a COLA without a grade and step to try, like we're trying to like mix match both. I think we should put all our energy in making the grade and step work, like and just, I mean, not that I'm against,
We'll work on that.
I don't wanna have you go and figure out two numbers. Even though it may not be that difficult, it's still gonna take some time, and it's like, I would rather have you digging more into what you just said to get the grade and step going, cause that is our long-term vision.
That's what it was talked about
And,
initially.
and then now next year, once the grade and steps in, then it's like, what are we doing, 2%, cool, boom, and across the board, it just updates the whole deal.
Right.
So my question to you is, what if the grade and step puts us over that 3%? How do you
Well,
Then what do
I think you gotta be pretty close, cause it's not drastic increases to everybody.
Well, the grade and step, I think the only thing that'll put us over is the longevity bonuses. Not, I mean, cause I thought those were substantial.
Well, they are.
Yeah, so I mean, if we may just have to implement the grade and step 1 year and then revisit the longevity.
With that.
Or-
But can you justify these longevity?
Well, that
maybe
has to be
increases?
figured out by all the department heads, because some of them
do?
don't
But see,
feel
when
like
we
they
did
should and
that
others
grade
do.
and step, we figured so many steps for, how many years was it, do you remember, is it 10?
I don't remember,
I
I
don't
think
remember.
it started at over 9 years.
So how do I know when to put that salary at if you're not gonna do that longevity, cause that's already plugged in there.
Well, I think what you have to do is you gotta figure the longevity and see if we can make the budget work. And I think if you're over by 10, 20, 30,000, then I think we're gonna have to make some incremental changes. It'd be just like the budget, right? What's our favorite thing to do if we're $500,000 over? You go to your biggest line item, right? Like,
And
that's
start
the easiest. Alright, there's 500 grand in there, let's see if we can live with only 300,000. I still think the grade and step's gonna be the easiest to modify. Like, if you go in and you're over, then it's like, okay, we have 40 employees and 34 of them are probably set where they need to be, and there's 4 or 5 that we're just gonna maybe have to scale back to make the budget work with the intent that we're gonna keep trying to progress it forward, kinda like what we tried a few years ago. We took a couple departments and we really bumped them because they were way behind. Yes, some people were upset, but then the next year was supposed to kinda be their turn, but that's where we ended up wanting to go to the grade and step, cause we're like, we're doing this the hard way, we're trying to make every department happy every year, so I think you just have to have the agreement basically just amongst ourselves that like the overall goal is to maybe get here, even if we can't do it in 1 year. I still think anything without a grade and step is still just gonna create more work in the
Yeah.
end because we're trying to get somewhere, so,
Maybe just run it with everything,
yeah.
the way you're looking at it, and then if we have to line item pick it apart, then we have to line item pick it apart.
Yeah,
Cause I think if we can,
I mean,
if we
we
can
know
get 90% of the employees where they need to be, and that last 10% needed like, hey, we can't quite go as far as we wanted to, and we'll go as far as the budget will allow us to, And with the idea that, okay, remember last year we took 2 steps off this department, like we need to try and, we need to
Make
focus
up.
on making that one right again, and I think.
And there's not a ton of longevity people on there, there's just some that are, they've been here a long time, so
Right.
we know if we would have to take that down to bring us down, just to get in for that year and then figure it out the next year, at least we know a starting point. So I think just the way you guys have it now, run it that way, and we'll go from there.
The good thing is you'll have your preliminary by September, and that still gives you a whole month. If we have to have a special
Right.
meeting, we'll have a special.
That's why I think trying to get the grade and step and then operating it like it's a preliminary is still the best route to go. And if anything,
Okay,
I mean, even if you end up cutting some of them longevities down, you're still gonna give them people longevity, right? I mean, they're still gonna get increases for their
They'll
longevity,
get
you just
something.
might not give them what they necessarily originally proposed.
Well, it basically gives some steps, so
Right,
we may just, not be able to fulfill all the
somebody
steps.
wanted 5 steps for their longevity with what you agreed with, and we give them 3, they're
Yeah.
still getting longevity, and then we just go, hey, we just couldn't give you that, but.
Yeah, because of the cap.
Nobody's in disagreement even amongst the employees that we want the graded step, so I think we should just hammer forward with
Yep.
that.
Okay, I'll get that going, and we'll meet with the department heads, and,
Yeah, and I'll let Craig and I know if we need to,
okay?
good.
Good.
thank you.
You wanna go with the zoning ordinances, guys, or you wanna go on the miscellaneous, get that done, and come back to the zoning?
Yeah, let's do the miscellaneous.
Let's-
Well, I guess the only thing I would just bring up, does anybody have any big zoning stuff to bring up, or are you still kinda filtering through it? And the only reason I ask that is because since we set a date for a public hearing, and we're basically gonna kinda move forward with that project, at least move forward with the process, I would probably advise not maybe making too many crazy ideas or assumptions, cause then it's almost gonna make us look contradictory, like
I think we just study this a little bit more and read through it.
Take our
and
time.
look
I mean,
at it.
unless someone's got some big updates or something they wanna bring up, I wouldn't object to that, but I'm just saying that was a lot to digest even in a month. I mean, I got through some pages of it, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't give it as much time as I should have, like,
It is, yeah.
I didn't even have it.
I think if we're still on the right track of going, like, I haven't seen a lot of stuff that I'd honestly even change at this point, but I didn't get all the way through it, I'm not gonna lie
It's
to
big,
you
it's
guys,
big,
so.
it's big.
I-
Yeah.
It's big.
I would almost just say, even for the sake of time today, unless someone's got some real good stuff to bring up, maybe we just kinda keep reading through it.
Dan had mentioned Sheridan County.
Sheridan County also, a guy that I spoke to up at the Wool Engineering Christmas party,
Okay,
what was his name? Shannon Dieterle. He chairs the board up in Sheridan County, I spoke to him this morning, and he gave us a couple of web pages to look at Sheridan counties. He was instrumental in changing their ordinances. He went through it thoroughly with a fine tooth comb and updated it. And he's willing to work with us and help us where they have wind farm development and all.
Okay.
So yeah, it's something to consider there too.
You want me to print that one off for you?
Yeah, if you would, and look at it, it's gonna be more material to look at it, but
yeah, well, I
maybe
mean,
it's so close to what we got, or not saying that this done isn't super, cause it probably is.
Sure, I just know that I mean, I probably got about a third of the way through it, you know, I just didn't, it was a busy month with a lot of stuff happening too, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys,
Yeah,
I didn't get my
yeah.
homework done. I'll
And I
just
didn't
say
either.
it right up front.
A third away to finding it with your help
I
here.
didn't get, well, yeah, when you were calling me and I had one bar of service trying to text you pictures of how to find it in the website, but, I mean, it's, I haven't seen a lot of major where I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that won't work here, so I feel like just digging through it some more, I'm almost of the opinion to a point, we might almost be able to almost dang near adopt
Just-
another county's, but just amend a few things, and so I guess my opinion is I would like a little more time to look through it, unless just someone
Well,
has
then let's table this.
dynamite stuff to bring
I
up,
think
I
Craig
would
might have a question.
object to
Do you
that.
have something you want to say?
Yeah, I was wondering, we'll just use this, battery storage. If they're taking agricultural land, should that agricultural land be converted to industrial after it's built?
Well, Christina said it doesn't matter what it's zoned, everything tax-wise and tax-based goes off of what's on that land, is what she said when we talked about
But
it.
it still should, it's not gonna produce anything agriculture anymore, it should be converted over.
Right, but the conditional use permit permits them to do something that it's not zoned to do, that's why you filed a permit.
Well, I understand that, that's
Right.
fine, but I'm just saying after it's built, it's no longer agriculture, it should be converted to.
Well, the only other
But it could go
trouble,
back to agricultural down the road.
well, the only other trouble too is you do gotta be careful of spot zoning, right, Joe? Like you can,
Yeah, I mean, they can petition to rezone it if they like, but it requires public hearings.
So I was-
zoning hearings.
reading in the Dunn County deal that an industrial development zone has to be within 1 mile of an established highway and have an established amount of water, which, they're not even close to a major highway. But that's just Dunn County, and they're not an industrial zone either, it's just,
You gotta be careful what the definition of a highway is though, because even some of our federal aid roads, like that Tembic road technically, I believe would be classified as a highway just cause it's not paved, but
Sure.
it's like how people call a section line, well, all these roads are section lines. It's
Right.
A section line is like a 2-track trail when they're
Improved
speaking of
section
it.
line or unimproved
Cause
section line.
technically, some of our roads are classified as highways.
right, you're right.
I just,
Yeah,
not
because
to,
you know the deeds.
not to
it
pick on
states.
you, but I just, that,
Yeah,
my
you're
assumption is like a highway is like it's paved, right?
Yeah,
Where-
I'm thinking
like
thirty.
the
Yeah.
federal aid roads
It's
are
all considered.
legally like highways, that's why
Yeah.
they're, so there's, in that case, they probably would be close enough to that.
Is that why they're federally funded?
Well,
Because
essentially,
highway status?
it's a part of the federal road network, just like these other roads are part of our county road
Yeah,
network.
yeah.
Highway 13 is a part of the state highway
I
network.
think
Yeah.
going
The
forward,
Tenvick
we
Road 72nd is a
No,
part
no,
of the
no,
federal highway
No,
network, it's just not
going
paved.
forward,
Yeah.
we need
So-
to change that whole designation maybe is.
Right,
Right,
Is when something comes in like that, that we do, treat it as industrial rather than agricultural.
yeah,
I mean, I would be with you on that one, but I think it may be a bigger pain than it's worth to rezone them industrial at this point, just because of having hearings and everything else,
I
but.
think the trouble with wanting to zone land a certain way is you're trying to do it before the development exists though, so you can steer that development to that property. I think once it's already gone through a conditional use permit or it's already happening, it's like, well, it's kind of pointless then.
To
And I-
do it.
and I think with energy, it's gonna be extremely difficult, cause they're almost all developing on ag land.
Right.
Like you
Right.
can't, you'd have to make your whole dang county industrial to try and get them to like,
Fall
go,
into that.
that's what makes it really difficult. I think in some of these counties that they've seen like major oil interaction, now they're like, okay, we don't want you just drilling oil all over the county, we want you in the northern part, so then they
Right.
start rezoning
what's,
the undeveloped land.
with Dunn County, it can be no more than 2 sections large, an
Mhm.
industrial area. It has to be, I think, 6 miles apart, I believe, is what I read on that,
What, each,
an industrial area. They don't want a whole township converting to industrial,
Sure, so they put limitations on the size of the,
the size of the area.
sure,
Yeah. Then they also had a rural, preservation zone too. I think it looked like local residents could get together to establish that, so they could keep that a rural zone.
do you have the section on that you,
Boy, I didn't write that down.
okay,
It was,
well, I mean, I'll find it, but I'll just skip to it, but.
they didn't want any, buildings up on ridges or top of buttes either to spoil the view. That was in there too.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
oh, I'd say this is thorough.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that's gonna maybe run into problems is just the stuff that already exists too, like that's where we might have
Well,
to be
that'd be
careful with some of
grandfathered
that
in
stuff.
with separate-
Right, you wouldn't change it, but I'm just saying, like, some of that stuff might be, like, I don't know. Cause it'd be pretty hard to prevent it going forward sometime, I don't know, that's,
No.
some of those are tough, that,
Right.
Seems to be like California with all your regulations.
well, I don't wanna deter because I can say, I feel like in a lot of ways Emmons County is underregulated, I think that is not necessarily a bad thing, other than that it is starting to cause some problems in some areas, and
Cause
you
they
could,
see it.
you could even almost argue that something like cattail is maybe a bit of a problem. Because they developed in an area that had some issues already, and now these developments is running into like the ag issue was already there, but if nobody
Yeah.
was hardly living down there, it maybe wouldn't be such a big deal, but now that there's
Yeah.
dozens of residences, now it becomes a problem, and that's where like maybe some zoning would have maybe deterred some of that, or started to create a different scenario. It's hard though, cause how do you tell people to not build a cabin on their land down by the river, and then they upgrade the road a little, and so, it's hard, I mean, that's the reason honestly why Emmons County isn't as regulated as maybe some other places, because it is hard, you gotta sit here and you gotta probably look at some people and tell them that you don't think they should do that, and that doesn't go over very well, and then you also have where people ask us for roads to places that maybe shouldn't get built, well, maybe we shouldn't have granted them a building permit down in that spot. You know, but then you do it cause you're like, well, heck yeah, if you wanna build on your land, build on it, but then they come asking for things later, and you're like, well, I didn't know you were gonna ask for that, I would've told you no, so, it's hard, it's
That's a
just,
tough
it's
deal.
difficult, it's, and,
Well, that's like where I used to live, the farms were there before the buildings, but then the housing and the apartments and the condos come in, and pretty soon the farms get pushed out because they can't be there anymore.
look at Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
You'll have like cattle outfits right next to
Yep.
big, well, then
Right in
cattle
the middle.
outfits were always there, I
Yeah.
remember as a kid growing up, it's just that the neighbors developed the pasture, and then they built store, now they're like, oh, the cow smell, and it's like, well, they were there, it's kinda hard to,
Right.
Down in
It's-
Arizona, these big dairies,
yeah,
I mean, it's being developed and it stinks.
they're just developing right
It's
around these
developed all right
spots, and
around.
it's
Where's
hot,
that?
right,
Where's it at, out east, 175 acres.
Right,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Right in the middle, is it New Jersey? 175-year-old farmstead.
Right in the
And
middle
the
of
city
town.
wants to use eminent domain
Yeah.
to buy them out and push them out.
Okay.
And these two brothers they're pushing back and they won't go for it.
zoning and property disputes are the reason why guys like Derek Broughton have a law business,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it keeps them busy just
Yeah.
fighting over fences and property lines and where you build stuff, and I mean, even look at, I know Beaver Bay was another one when we had some people coming in for a while, and then we told them they should form their own township.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they told us, well, we don't wanna fight with our neighbors, but it's true, I don't blame them, that's hard, you're gonna fight with your neighbors.
Yeah.
James is on the city board, you don't get no more like, you know, personal sometimes than being on like a city board and trying to tell people they can or can't build a fence, or can or can't, you know, build a shed in their yard, well, that's tough, but you gotta have some rules at some point. It's
You had
hard.
an issue with these storage containers, correct, didn't you?
Yeah, we had to have, they put one in their backyard, didn't tell anybody, and we had to have them move it, cause we had, when they kinda became big, we put an ordinance in that it could only be put in commercial and industrial zones,
Mhm.
not in residential, and, yeah, the liquor store owner, we had a little pushback about that, I mean, we were, put it behind the liquor store.
And doesn't she have one on the liquor store now?
I don't
Like
think
she
so.
built that fence there right on Main Street around the liquor
No,
store?
that's so she can
So
sell
she can
drinks, you
sell.
can stay in there and.
But anyway, I mean, like I said, my point is this zoning stuff is tough, it's
It's
tough,
tough, yeah.
cause there isn't a one rule we're gonna go through here that isn't probably gonna make somebody upset at some point,
Oh, yeah,
Right.
so.
it isn't to make friends.
Well, that's why, I mean, even with my comment about like the houses on the ridge, like, your first hesitation is like, oh, I don't know, but then afterwards, you're like, well, I mean, do you wanna build a house on that, or you wanna build a road on that ridge? No, well, then, maybe we need to consider not letting them build a house on it, like, I don't know, it's tough, but somebody's gotta make them tough decisions at
Beaver
some
Bay's
point,
a
so.
good example.
Alright, so we're gonna.
Okay, guys.
We're gonna table that.
Yep.
Table it till next, yeah.
That's all the miscellaneous stuff.
Let's go to the miscellaneous.
Hey, before we get into that,
Go
did
ahead.
anybody get a chance to drive through that property that we spent 25 grand cleaning up and?
No, I didn't, I was gonna do it this morning.
Well, we didn't spend any money on it, did we?
Well, I mean, we did, that'll never get paid.
Well, isn't that getting passed on?
Well, it's on his taxes.
Right,
Well, good luck getting that back.
well, the only other thing is, I don't think you gotta worry about cleaning it again, cause if he doesn't pay his taxes, we'll end up with the property, and then we can clean it all up.
Well,
So-
It's a battle.
I took a few pictures and sent
I
them to
know.
Joe, and, we've been on them with the city trying to get them to clean up, boy, that Tommy Thompson place, if you've driven by there the last couple days.
Who?
Just saw the pictures he gave me, it looked like it was better, but.
You know, it's worse again now on the steps and now by the windows, and anyway, we've been on somebody about moving, start cleaning up his places in town, and it looks like he's doing a good job of that, and moving it to the county problem now, again. And piles of tree branches, I mean, just piles of tree branches out there, and, yeah, I'm just an FYI, I know we don't wanna let it get too far out of hands.
And it will,
Oh, absolutely,
absolutely.
we're fighting it hard in the city.
That poor
Not just
guy-
one person, there's multiple ones, but.
Space,
Is that business transition was wondering about that, changed hands? Well, maybe not, it was that one.
County doctor.
All right.
Are you gonna go get?
The doc.
Yeah.
Item one,
Well, yeah,
okay? Yeah. Building permit for Next Era Energy to construct a 60 by 40 storage building addition onto the existing building with a 6 by 8 breezeway on section 28, township 134, range 75.
So the existing one here, they're just going north, not getting any closer to the edges or anything, setbacks are good.
That's by their existing building?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, on 71st Street.
Right.
By Stanley Newman's.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve building permit for next year.
Gardner makes a motion to approve, their second.
No second.
Miller, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Building permit for the Dock and Bar and Grill LLC to remodel the interior of the restaurant and bar on track B, lot 1 in the north half of section 14, township 132, range 79. That's on Main Street, is it not?
No, that's the,
Our place, but they.
yeah, the Bayside, the old Bayside, our place. by the
Oh,
bay.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that building permit.
Good. Gardner makes a motion. Second it. Second. Mr. Vanderhorst, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3, building permit for Steve Feist to construct a 100 by 40 residence with a 70 by 30 shop on lot 13 of track B in the west half, southwest quarter of section 9, township 130, range 79. Steve Feist.
Was that picture taken from an SR 71?
Where's that?
I don't know.
1,000 feet above, I really don't.
Where's this at?
That's part of my free area, image stuff.
Yeah, are you gonna bring that up?
Yeah,
What's?
cattail.
That's by Cattail? That's big.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay.
So there's the resort there,
Oh,
the
yeah.
bar, goes on the east side over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a 100 by 40 building, not 140 plus 70 by 30 shop. The 70 by 30 shop is within that 100 by 40, but his setbacks are good. He's gonna put it in the center of his lot.
All is good.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to accept? Motion. Jim Vanderhorst makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Magnum seconds it. A vote. All guys in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4, building permit for Ryan Nagel to construct 2 42-foot grain bins on section 13476. You already poured the cement on that?
Yeah, you already admitted to starting it, but yeah, they're just in line with the other ones, so.
Everything's good?
Everything's good?
Motion to approve.
Jim Gardner makes a motion to approve, is seconded. Jim Vanderhorst seconds it. All guys in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5, building permit for Corey and Crystal Bartuska to construct a 36 by 24 shop garage on lot 1, block 4, Missouri Hills Estate, section 23, 130, township 132, range 79. Where's that at? Up there?
Down at Beaver Bay.
Beaver Bay, okay.
So, hold on a second. I went out there last week and they were a little close to the road, but they have room, so they are moving it 40 feet. It was 33 feet, but they have room to move it 6 feet, and they told me they were gonna do that.
So they're gonna move
So
it
they're
back.
gonna move it
They're
back?
gonna move it back, because otherwise it would've been too close to this road here. But
'Cause it
yeah,
will
they're gonna
block,
be good,
won't
they
it?
have room,
It'll block if they're too close.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they will be good.
So how do we know how far they're gonna move it back?
Well, I can always go out there, but she talked to me first, and she didn't know it was 40 feet, and she goes, if we need to move it, that's fine, they have plenty of room, so. And I told them they move it back 6 feet, so.
Okay. Does somebody wanna make a motion to accept it, or you wanna make a motion that, with the agreement that they'll move it back to a certain footage? And to be confirmed by you?
They'll be fine.
It'll be fine?
Yep.
Is there a motion to
Say they
accept?
look like they live in Bismarck, and I'm sure they know.
Yeah.
Bismarck.
I'll
they
make a
wrote it
motion
down.
to approve the permit.
Okay, by Magnum, seconded by Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
If they understand and talk to Josh, they'll move it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
No,
No?
I just know if they actually ask, they'll do it. If they weren't gonna do it, they'd have done it already.
You're right.
Yeah, I can tell on the phone if someone's gonna move or not, and they're like, oh, yeah, we can.
That's what I mean,
Yeah,
like,
other people are, oh,
otherwise,
really?
yeah. I don't think
You
you
know
would've
who you
found
need to
out until
check
you went out
before
there
you
was
get
already
out on top
concrete
of it,
poured,
and
so.
the ones you don't.
Yeah, then it would be different.
Yeah,
Replat on item 6, replat of lot 2 of the southwest quarter and the part of the southwest quarter, Emmons County, Logan Energy Center, section 34, township 134, range 74.
Yeah.
That's one we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just extending
Square
north to
north.
the road, so. Very good.
Is there a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the replat.
Okay, McVeigh, was there a second? Second. Vanderhorst, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7, gaming authorization for Litton Lions Club at the Dock Bar and Grill LLC, 8049 Highway 1804, Lincoln, North Dakota 58552. Is there,
I'll make a motion to approve that permit.
Magrum accepts, makes a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Gardner, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item 8, building permit for Corey and Crystal Bertuska.
Yeah.
That we had that already, so that's
Oh, I
not.
put it on there twice.
Duplicate.
Sorry about that, guys.
Item 9, building permit for Russell Schick to erect a 152 by 80 cold storage building in a 60,000 bushel grain bin with a dryer on section 23, township 135, range 76.
No, that's the old Werner farm there.
Is this the other side of Hazelton?
East. So this one I just got yesterday. He's gonna put the grain bin right here, so that's good, and the dryer right behind it. The shop, however, I'm waiting for him to call me back. Cause I told him about the setbacks for the highway, this road, and then the intersection, we have 250 feet. And he wasn't sure about that, cause they were just starting to level it off, but he didn't have it staked. So I'm either gonna call him back and go out there and check it out. So either we do a contingent on that, or just.
I'll make a motion that contingent on you checking it out, verifying that it's, good with all the setbacks, that we approve it.
Yeah.
That works.
Is there a second to that? Second. Miller seconds it. Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Well, Russ is good, he'll take.
Item
Yeah,
10,
he's-
go ahead, building permit for Daryl and Nancy Geffro to erect a 59 by 40 residence with 46 by 37 attached garage in the south half of the southeast quarter. Will be located in the northwest corner of the parcel, section 8, township 151, range 74.
Last month,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, they just
bought it
started
from
this
that.
spot.
So where's this at, on the existing farm?
It's south of it. We replatted this was owned by some Geffreys or.
Francis Geffrey.
Geffreys.
Oh, that's on Francis's, okay.
Yeah, this would be almost,
This is the
well,
existing
almost
one.
straight west of like Aaron Myers.
She was here yesterday, and she said it was going here, but I have a feeling she probably meant up into here. But either way, it's
good.
It's gonna be good.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Gardner to accept it. Second, Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That should be it, gentlemen.
Long day, right?
One day, 4 o'clock. I think I'm getting sick.
And you what?
I think I'm getting damn cold.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't get to sing. I thought you was.
Yeah, well, you
I'm getting damn cold.
I don't know how much
Here's
of
another
that
page of
was.
bills. You just
Oh,
kind
man.
of grab one, pass it
We
on.
can clap or
There was a bunch of people got it from my grandma's funeral.
Did they?
Yeah, they're all just getting over it.
Coming
That
back
was
from
a,
Chicago, son, Dr.
that was a
Sheehan.
bugger.
Really sick too.
No, not bad, just like a,
Head cold.
yeah, cough
Yeah.
and a nasally, like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah. That's
like
how
the
this-
chills or like bedridden type deal, just irritating for the middle of summer though, like.
Yeah, you wonder where it's all coming from.
Right.
Summer colds are the worst.
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice and decent, and here you are kinda like sniffing around.
You guys, I just felt it just a lot of them. I'll pass around the papers as I sign.
Then I get them.
Yeah.
Long day, huh, Joe?
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joseph.
Take a donut or 10.
Joseph, take a donut. Take one of the kids.
Material
Looks
figure
like,
it alone.
looks like the auditor's office is gonna have a lot of donuts.
I think somebody should run them out to the county shop, I really do.
To the
Yeah.
shop.
Soon
Well,
as.
I'll run them out there on the way back.
They'll like
Yeah,
that.
you'll have to close them all up, I think they're all open, cause they're.
I'll grab one on the way out though.
So you can give them all the cold
Yeah,
now.
I think
I'll get them all
I
cold.
might grab one on the way out too.
They're good, man.
I haven't
I can't
checked out
stay
the
away.
donuts yet. Yeah, they're hard, the fat pills, I like those things.
Tasty.
Yep. And they're fresh.
Then the guys.
That one looks
come
like
in
it's got a
tonight.
hair on it. I better eat
What?
that.
That 205.
It looked like it
weight, I
fell on the
wanna
floor.
maintain.
I'll take that one, guys. I'll take the one that fell on the floor. You're welcome.
Oh, shit, yeah.
That's just a gift to all of us.
What's this stuff, this stuff we signed?
That's that
I'm looking out
property
for you guys. I don't want you guys eating the ones that fell on the floor.
Yeah, what's the other part of this slab?
I can't really hear it. Joanne's one of you looked at me the other day.
Just do
She
it.
was pissed on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can have that habit.
tell her that Dan doesn't intentionally do it. Tell her to forgive an old man.
She knows. Joe's a good one. She's a good sport.
I know what you'd rather do. What can you say? Both would smile and laugh, or the mother would smile and laugh.
Neither. Neither.
That's something you want to mix up.
That's the page with that?
Yeah, I'm missing,
The second page?
I don't know, I'm missing, there's 2 more pages missing.
Prisoner building at Meds, wonder what that is. Friday.
He's got them, okay. He's gotta sign that plat.
Second.
Those get thrown in there.
Why didn't you
and
get this
passed
approved,
around.
Megan? When you were chairman, why didn't you get it approved that you put a stamp?
I was told you couldn't.
Yeah, I was told that too. I said, can I get a stamp?
I was told you can't just have like a rubber stamp. You gotta make sure you sign it.
You want,
I called
what do you
the
want, an auto pen over there?
Yeah.
Terry,
Yeah.
I
This
called
is
the
an auto
auditor's
pen.
office and they said no.
your auto pen is a bad idea, didn't work out for anybody else.
Your penmanship only gets worse as you do this all the
It's
time.
one thing, you gotta have a smooth pen.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, that makes a
Cause if
big
you have a
difference.
smooth pen, you can just make that signature go, but
Yeah.
you get some of these rougher ball, but they write better, but like when you gotta sit there and do that 100 million times, and boy, your hand does get stiff by the end of it.
The other day I ran a weed.
You what?
I ran a weed for about 2 hours.
Oh, last
Oh,
night?
right when I came in, I was just shaking in my arms.
I hate that.
I couldn't believe it, man.
We're backfilling that foundation for Brady Weber, and we gotta use the jumping jack in spots, and then you just sit there and run that for 3-4 hours, and then, Seth Blaze works for me, college kid for the summer. I made him run that one day for like 4 or 5 hours, so I'm like, that's a good job for the 20-year-old college kid, you know? The next day, he comes in the office when we're all meeting for coffee, and he goes, I had a dream about the jumping jack last night. Yeah, that's when you know you ran it a lot, when you literally, it's in your dreams, like, he goes, even this morning, it's like his hands just like pulsating, I'm like, yeah, when you run that thing for 3-4 hours, it's just
You
goes
feel
nuts.
it, went to the bathroom and was all over
Yeah.
that place, I was still shaking.
I mean, you can feel with that jumping jack, even like you're just sitting in the chair, it's still kinda like moving a little, like it just, yeah. That's the
Horrible
worst.
feeling.
Just like mowing for all day, and then you
Yeah.
come in and your body's like still like vibrating almost, you know. I'd make a motion to adjourn if anybody's ready.
Okay, motion to
Motion to
adjourn by
adjourn?
Magrum, second.
Second.
Miller. All in favor?
Alright,
Adjourn, good.
great, I get to go run that jumping jack again.
Tell her to shut up.
Can I have you sign those things on top of that box?
Do what?
Can I have you sign those things?
Certainly. Come on.
Thank
This
you.
goes here, this
Down.
goes here.
check my emails yet.
These are signed. This one's signed. This one is signed.
Oh, okay, I didn't,
I jumped the boat. Figured they'd all be approved. I was hoping they'd all be approved.
oh, you probably signed them and they went
Those
down
are
to
signed.
Aaron, that's
Yep.
the deal.
I
Did you
think
sign
they're
that plaque
These
though?
are
I
signed.
think I brought
Yep,
everything
that's
back,
signed.
so.
Great.
These are signed, I'll sign this and you can have this. Okay, good. Too much sweets. Sugar fast.
No, I
Oh,
love, that makes it all the worse, yeah. That's my donut.
I did that, we were over in,
Should be this.
Pearl Harbor, and I took a swallow of water, and it hit me in the throat. Oh, I went to my knees, man, I was choking. I couldn't get no breath. Air back in me.
Yeah, you got choked up at Pearl Harbor, I know that.
And I did.
It's very.
That's
Hopefully
something
none
to
of
see.
you have your A1C.
Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen that, Jim?
You're all gonna flunk.
Oh, you're a vet.
Yeah,
Oh, you'll get chills in your body.
yeah, that's a.
It's unreal.
It's beautiful.
There's still
I mean, it's
oil.
beautiful, but yet it's
It's
during
heart-wrenching.
the tears and the, yeah.
Yeah,